All right. All right. Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to say call on Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, giving much praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai. Once again, correct me. Forgive me. I'm everywhere. The King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the God of Gods. Um, there is no other God besides him, earthly God. But much love to his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, the Adonai, the light of this world, the one who died for the children of Israel to get them to come into the new covenant, and the one that they ignorantly called Jesus Christ, and every name that doesn't have any power. Much love to the chosen children of Israel, the elect among the children of Israel, and much love to the beautiful beautiful Akim, the brothers, the prophets that's in the truth, that do everything in their power to push this new covenant and show you how Bashem Yahushai that they love him and they fear him. Much love to the beautiful Akwaf, the beautiful women, and it's not a lot of y'all beautiful women that's in the truth. With whether you got a man or not, you still fear the law, statutes, commandments of Yahweh, and you listen and you learn in silence to the best of your abilities. And today's title is called "Gangs, Cults of the Day and Night," because we got a lot of these gangs, that our people are associated with. So instead of our people glorifying life and glorifying Yahweh and glorifying peace and unity, they actually glorify death. They glorify the God of this world, which is Esau, which you can call the devil. They glorify self-destruction. They glorify witchcraft and the division of our people. Now, for them, these guys, are the 2/3 that the Bible speak of. It says 2/3 shall be cut off and die. So we can get that precept real quick too. Give me one moment. So we can go into Bible Gateway. You can always go there just in case you need any quick you remember any precepts, sort of calculate it and pull it up. The digital Bible is a lot faster. We can read Zechariah chapter 13 verses 8 through 9. And it says, "And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith Yahweh, that 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, and the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and I will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them, and I will say, It is my people, and they shall say, Yahweh is my God." So you can get some of the full chapter. And it says, and in that day there shall be a fountain open to the house of David and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem for their sin of uncleanliness. So all this wickedness and all of these things that they're generating, it has to be answered for. They have to be judged for it. They have to answer for that correction. And with these gangs, they are no different than cults, in my opinion. How these gangs process and how they do things, and they not truly understanding just how binded they are with this sorcery, with these different magics, with these alchemic like drugs, that is dispersed within across the U.S. And they're helping distribute and manufacture these things, and they're not understanding that this is the deep sorcery, this deep darkness that Yahweh was warning everybody about. So you got them distributing like low base magic. That's pretty much what it is. Like, like drugs like weed. You got cocaine. You have the crack. You got the powder form. Then you got cigarettes. Cigarettes are a part of that too. Then you have the pills, or mollies or double stackers or whatever they may call them, pink dolphins. I done heard it all. You got horse trank, which is the zombie drug, which is a very deadly drug. It also says something in the Bible that says is he is dead while he liveth, and that right there. Let me get that. I do want to finish reading this part though. Um, I do want to finish reading that precept, but yeah, it says he is dead while he liveth. So you got this horse trank. It's like a flesh eating drug. So the more that you use it, the more you rot away. So you got a lot of these people that are so addicted to this dangerous drug to where, one, I seen his foot popped open. His foot was popped open and it was rotting off, and that he was afraid to go to the hospital because they would amputate him. I also saw a woman, and her hand was so big, like Popeye, Popeye the Sailor Man. Her hand was like his hand. Her hand was like his hand, and it popped open, and the flesh was coming out. Very, very dark, very, very bad. Um, it's a lot of other ones that I've seen that I don't remember. The main thing, it's like, if you can look up Kensington, Philadelphia, I do believe Philadelphia, Kensington. You can look up that place, and it looked like the exorcism. It looked like possession. Like these guys are, got invisible demons sitting on their back, or they just out of it to the point to where they call it the hunchback or whatever they call it, or lean. That's what they call it. And these people are leaning, and they lean in so far back, so far forward, toward they back start hunching. So that this is a terrible drug. You got what's another drug out there that's besides the trank? I forgot. You got heroin, but it's another drug besides that trank that's actually very, very, fentanyl. There it is. I was looking for the name. Fentanyl, another one. And all these drugs is their low base magics. They're low base magics. They're low base witchcraft. So like it says in the Bible, it says, I suffer not a sorcerer. No, it says a sorcerer. I suffer not a sorcerer to live. Meaning that in ancient times, when people was caught doing these things among our people, they would be put to death. But nowadays, this is a part of the curses that the children of Israel must go through. So you got the gangs that's distributing all of this, and it's keeping a lot of the weaker, lower versions of our people down, and pretty much they trapped in quicksand. They never to rise again. And some people break through, and then some people don't. Some people die doing these drugs and induced in this witchcraft, which they call an escape, when it's hard to escape from this reality, and all you doing is what's the saying that I always say? um it wasn't designed to be an escape. It was only designed to take the edge off, you know um but at the same time they're using it as an escape, and to unplug from this world. So you got some people that totally jack out, like they said, he is dead while he liveth, and they just not there. And sometimes in that vessel being empty or jacked out, something else can possess it. Other spirits can possess that body. So you got people that's running around going crazy, killing. You got people that's flipping out, collecting garbage, random things that they don't need. You got people that's playing chicken across the freeway. You got people that's clothing themselves with nothing but garbage. People got rashes everywhere on their back. People living underground and darkness. You can't even see them in the dark. And they live there. They dwell under the subways. They dwell in the dark alleys. You got people that's in the 0 degree weather, and as long as they got their drug, they happy. And this is coming from the distribution of these gangs that are cults. Another one is very deep and very demonic. The sacrifices. So you got the sacrifices to where they are actually, this is some call it blood in blood out, which is the law for a lot of these gang slash cults. And you gotta off somebody in order to join, and if you don't off somebody, you get offed, because now you are apparently that knowledge, you done seen certain things that they do. So now, since you didn't off that person, they don't trust you. So you become the sacrifice in the place of the person that you were supposed to sacrifice. Sometimes it could get real cold. It could be your best friend that you got to off. Sometimes it could be a random person. So I heard stories about men killing women with their children. I done heard stories about little girls getting caught in the crossfire. And I done heard a lot of these weird demonic stories, and these sacrifices would somewhat keep them in, allow them to join the gang and be a part of the criminal underworld. So that is another lower level craft that I've seen these gangs do to these people, no, to their own, for initiation rites. You think or the first one was the put on. You think the put on was bad, to where sometimes they damn near beat you to death, or they don't beat you to death. It's a systematic. Sometimes they jump you, and then sometimes they let you. Actually, no, they jump you in. First, they jump you in, and then depending on the ranking that you want to be in, you gotta start off as the little homie or whatever, and you work your way up to OG, to triple OG, or whatever status. But in order for you to do that, you have to fight to get in those tiers. You got to fight to get in those tiers, and these fights are horrible, man. You could die fighting these people, and shoot, you got people going fighting for 5 minutes, fighting for 10 minutes. These fights get very, very brutal. And this is like some sort of ritual for our people. It's very demonic, it's very dark, and they don't care if you are a child. You gonna come out with some bad bruises. You could die in the process of being initiated. What's another one? Oh man, pray that you don't want to leave the hood. In some cases, they don't even allow that. The only way you leave the hood is by dying. In some cases they do allow that. You get put off a hood the right way, and then you could go and switch to another hood, or just stop gangbanging completely. But normally a lot of them don't let you slide. They put you to death, unless you take the coward's way out, as they would say, and leave the city and never come back. That's another way, but normally that's exactly what they do. And this wickedness is just on our people. It's like a demonic cycle. And these people, our people, are these they're not our people. Actually, they're the strange nation that Yahweh was talking about, that they abandoned the Israelite ways and they refused to return to Yahweh. So the Lord considers them a part of the world. The Lord considers them like the Edomites, lawless, murderous, demonic, very dominant, um, territorial, and they kill their own to get to where they want to be and to do whatever they want to do. And it's funny that they face their own and they can kill and attack their own instead of facing the actual problem, the enemy, you know. and in a wickedness they eye, like it said in, I think in the book of Deuteronomy, it said this, in a brother's eye shall be evil towards his brother. Yeah, that right there, this is part of this self-destruction, is a part of this curse. But we come into a point to where we coming out of it. But at the same time, now that the truth is being spread across the world and is being distributed, like it says, in the name of the Lord, I forgot what it said, and the gospel shall be spread and be a witness unto all nations, and then the end shall come. I got it all chopped up, but pretty much that's it. So everybody knows about the truth. So, in this wickedness, they don't have no covering cast. They don't have no protection from Yahweh's judgment, you know. So they are caught in the midst of judgment, and their time is running out for repentance. And clearly you see what these what these what these gangs and what these cults and what these kids are doing. And one other thing that I wanted to talk about was the mindset on how all this starts. The mindset, it's the mind that is, we're dealing with these gang banging men, these gang banging men that be damn near 40 years old, and they got the mind of a 12 to 10-year-old child. They have no parental guidance. They don't have no structure. They don't have no discipline, no self-control. They are, rather than having a masculinity, which is the right masculinity, which is a man that guides them, they actually have feminist ways, which is pushing them to lash out, pushing them towards mood swings, to be somewhat into, whether they know it or not, they don't understand, sodomy. They all this brotherly love, and come to find out these guys that's been around each other so long, that come to find out they land with each other. This is really happening, and it starts with the mind. I heard a lady talking about that. She gave a good breakdown on the mind of our brothers that's among the Israelite nation. That they are very premature, and how the mind progresses is a difference between man and woman now in this modern age. Now with the woman, if you are not a part of the 1/3 the children of Israel, you are likely to never mature, to never grow up. And you got a lot of women like that that's not growing up. They're not maturing. They don't grow up past 10 years old. They don't grow up past 12 years old. That is their limit. They don't grow up at all. Now for men, it's worse. No, it's not worse. Their progression is very slow. And then at some point of time in their life, they come to a crossroads, which is normally like 29 to 30. That's when you start really growing up. You see how long it takes for a man's mind to mature, and that's if he matures. He has a choice whether to remain in a childlike mind state, or to mature and take your journey into your manhood and reach your prime, which is 35 to 40. It takes a long time for a man to develop. So you got to understand what these children are dealing with when it comes to a broken household, a broken nucleus family, a family with no father, a family with a corrupted mom or dad. They don't have no father. That's one scenario. Or you got corrupted parents, and it's just a whole genealogy of corruption and wickedness. And so few grow up and they become mature and they become men, out of the journey. But it's their minds, So the lady was explaining how it works, without a father to guide them. The mother is trying to raise the children, and she's not doing very well because she's very emotional, and she's no more than a child, and her attention span can only go so far. And on top of that, her raising sons and daughters, her strength is dwindling. She's at a point to where what the children don't understand is that she's becoming weaker. She is leaving her prime. you know. And not to mention, a lot of women have their children. Some women have their children at 12 years old. You know, you got a lot of women having children in their 20s, and their fathers are abandoning them, and they are raising their kids. So by the time the children come of age, they not understanding that what little strength their mom had left to take care of them is gone. Her attention span is gone. She pretty much gets bored, and she doesn't want to have any dealings with kids. She's ready to move on with her life, but that's not how it works, especially with, you got older kids, and then, women with newborns. It don't work like that. You got some of them that crack under pressure. They do. They really do. They want to abandon their kids. They want to get their kids away because the challenge of it is too great. They ignored the fine print before they signed, her and the boyfriend, and they just decided to live in the moment and just have a kid. And it works like that. Then they realize the real world, but they are kids at the real world. Like I got a saying, sitting at a grown man's table. A child sitting at a grown man's table. That's how it is for a lot of brothers and sisters that don't mature. So and so forth, without the father. And then you got the mother that her strength can only go so far. The kids go elsewhere for guidance. They go elsewhere for fathership. They go elsewhere for a role model, somebody to look up to, whether it be they friends or whether it be an actual man. But in some cases, a lot of men or a lot of women are not good role models, and they can misguide your children to the wrong path. Why? Because at the end of the day, the role model may still be immature themselves, calling themselves trying to guide others through their experience. So, you know, due to these children feeling like they are lost, like I said, and back in the old days, they would come together in groups to try and socialize. And like I said, try to find role models, people to look up to, trying to feel like they belong. And they created these gangs, they create these groups, they create these cults, as per se, because, they grow up. No, they don't grow up. They become these groups, these little bad kids with no guidance, and they do stuff and they do bad things toward one day they do actually something bad, like, off somebody, or start selling drugs, or or ended up pretty much one or two, one or two, or even worse, selling drugs. Well, both. Either offering somebody, selling drugs, and that's how these gangs roll. And I was really watching a lot of these gangs. A lot of these. I was watching this video to where it was a lot of these gang members that was dying, and some of them wasn't even making it to 30. A lot of them was being off. A lot of gang banging rappers passed away in 2025. A lot of them died, whether it was known or unknown. But mostly we was watching the known ones that call themselves rappers and all of that shit, that's spreading all that poison. And they're no longer here. They didn't even make it to 2026. So having that and knowing something like that is very deep. And having that understanding that in the story, you guys actually are believing that fallen angels are giant beings, that's trapped underground until the last day of the earth, where they fight Jesus and the angels with Satan and the rest of the fallen angels. They fight Jesus and they lose. When actually the fallen angels, they've been here all this time walking around. These 2/3 are the fallen angels. We were all fallen angels at one point in time, but now in the spirit, Yahweh has allowed us to come back to our estate. So now you got some angels that are risen, that we came back and we took our estate and we remembered how special we are. Now you got those of them that are fallen angels, rebel angels, very, very bad angels that disobey Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and refuse to come back to their rulership, refuse to come back to their estate. They refuse to acknowledge who they are. They refuse to acknowledge Yahweh. So there is your fallen angel stories right there. These war angels, these once mighty angels are nothing but fallen angels at this point, and they are very wicked, and they have a chance to become risen, but they don't want it. They like the way they are, they like the way things are, and they don't care about the word of Yahweh Shem Shai. So the Lord has to punish them. That's what Israel is. They are a band of angels. They are armies of angels that are on the ground in the form of men. So when you read the book of Genesis, when they talk about the giants, they are talking about the Israelites and how they came into being. And they weren't that big like they would tell you, super skyscraper giants. Nah, it didn't work like that. But they were pretty big. They're pretty big, but not like super Attack on Titan big. Nah, nah. But they were pretty big. There were enough. It was enough to like four or five Israelites to take on an army of like what, like 700 men. Knock them down. Just 4 or 5 giant Israelites back in ancient times. But now that pretty much my point is, those are the fallen angels. They are the fallen angels, and the angels that's risen is the ones that repented and came back towards their state. We're no longer fallen angels. So, but that's as plain as day. That those are your fallen angels. It might sound boring, but you got to understand what the Bible is. The Bible is a very realistic book. It's not just it don't just sound all imaginary. It's a very realistic book. Okay, so we can get some of these precepts, and I'm gonna close out with part 1 of this. It says, Zechariah 13 verse 1, it says, in that day there shall be a fountain open to the house of David and the inhabitants of Jerusalem for the sin of uncleanliness. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahweh, Lord of hosts, that I will cut off the names of the idols in that land, and they shall no more be remembered. And I will cause the prophets and the unclean spirits to pass out of that land. It says, and it shall come to pass that when any shall yet prophesy in this man, yet shall prophesy, then his father and his mother that begat him shall say unto him, thou shalt not live, for thou speakest lies in the name of Yahweh. And his father and his mother shall begat him, shall thrust him through when he prophesied. And it shall come into that day that the prophet shall be ashamed, everyone of his vision, when he had prophesied. Neither shall they wear a rough garment to deceive. But I shall say, I am no prophet, I am an husbandman, for I am taught, for man taught me to keep the cattle from my youth. It says, and one shall say unto him, what are these wounds in thy hands? Then he shall answer, those which I have wounded in the house of my friends. It says, awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the man that is my fellow, saith Yahweh. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered. It says, and I will turn mine hand upon the little ones. He talking about the angels, the Israelites. And it shall come to pass in that land that 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, and the 3rd part shall be left therein. And I will bring the 3rd part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and I will try them as gold is tried. It says, they shall call on my name, and I will hear them, and I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, it is Yahweh is my God. So you go to Proverbs chapter 1 verse 1. And this one is actually for these groups. It says, the Proverbs 1 chapter 1 verse 1, it says, the Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. It says, to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive instruction, wisdom, justice, and judgment and equity, to give stability to the simple, to the young man knowledge and discretion. A wise man will hear and will increase learning, And a man of understanding shall attain up to wise counsel, to understand a proverb and the interpretation, the words of the wise and their dark sayings. The fear of Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. My son, hear the instruction of thy father, and forsake not the law of thy mother. For they shall be an ornament of grace unto thy head, and chains about thy neck. My son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. If they say, come with us, let us wait for blood, let us lurk privily for the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them up alive as the grave, and whole as those that go down into the pit. We shall find precious substance. We shall fill our houses with spoils. Cast in thy lot among us. Let us have, let us all have one purse. Talking about these gangs and these robbers and these thieves. My son, walk not thou in the way with them. Refrain thy foot from their path. For their feet run to evil, and make haste to shed blood. Surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird, and they lay wait for their own blood. They privily they lurk privily for their own lives. So are the ways of everyone that is greedy of gain, which taketh away the life of their owners thereof. Right. The things that they I read this in the Divine Commedia. It says the divine no, it says what do you say? The fight for materialism that makes such short a life. I do believe that the fight for possessions that makes such a short life. Meaning that these people are fighting for things, materialism, and plus, when they die, they can't take that with them. It doesn't even matter. And you got those of our people that's a part of these gangs that's risking their life for materialism. Materialism things that doesn't matter. Like women, money, fame, respect. They fighting for cars. They fighting for clothes. Some of them can get jobs. Some of them even had talent. They can go to college. Some of them were smart. They're real smart, but they wanted to be a part of that gang life. They wanted to be a part of these cults and this wickedness. And they, like I said, the cults of the day and night, they always there. They're always there. And it's getting to the point to where it's just old, but they refuse to let it go. So I'm gonna get a part 2, and this is just part 1 for right now, and it's on to the next episode. I'm out.